just 1 year ago, we would be excitedly talking about the upcoming season for the Vancouver Canucks, coming off their best season in over a decade, which included but was not limited to a Pacific Division victory, 50 wins and 109 points, a 103-point JT Miller, Norris winning Quinn Hughes, 40-goal scoring Brock Besser, 89-point two-way forward Elias Pettersson, a Vezina nominee in Thatcher Demko, and all while being led by a world-class staff headed by Adams winning coach Rick Tocchet, which led us to a Game 7 loss in the second round to the eventual Cup runners-up in the Edmonton Oilers. Things were looking pretty swell for a repeat in 2024-2025. Yes, we unfortunately lost Zadorov and Lindholm, but the DeBrusk, Sherwood, Heinen, and even Sprong signings were looking pretty promising. Cue the actual 2024-2025 season, and disaster would strike in a way that I don't even think a prophet could foresee. Hey, remember that guy who was supposed to be one of the faces of our franchise? The one that Canucks fans would argue should probably be in the Selke conversation each year and should only be getting better since he's pretty young. The guy we gave $11.6 million to over the next 8 years, with year 2 to 8 including a full no movement clause. Yeah, well, he kind of fell off like really badly. So apparently he will go on to fight demons the entire year, both figuratively and literally. Remember that guy who put up 100 points and was a fan favorite? He would allegedly be one of said literal demons, resulting in him getting shipped off to New York. But that's fine, right? This team was more than just JT Miller. I bet we got a pretty sick return for him, right? We got an injury-prone center as the main piece, a solid-looking young right-handed defenseman, and a first that would become Marcus Pettersson. We have 2 Petterssons now? What? Wait, what do you mean we have 3? Okay, so our 2 best forwards may have had a down season, resulting in one of them getting shipped off and them fighting like a divorced couple. But we still have Vezina nominee Thatcher Demko, right? The man who's carried this team on his back for the last couple of years. We still got him, right? Well, he would go on to play only 23 games, and he would have a pretty bad save percentage with an 889, which is very, very rough. His injury in the playoffs was supposed to be short. They had even talked about how he might come back for the 3rd round in the event that the Canucks would progress to said 3rd round, which obviously they did not. A fun little twist that would happen is that he wouldn't even be ready for the start of the next season. This injury, supposedly paired with his previous injury history, would be one that he wouldn't quite be able to just walk away from. It was said that this injury would be one that he is now going to have to fight through for the rest of his career, most likely leading to discomfort and pain while playing, and that's our starter goalie. So Miller's gone, Pettersson needs a therapist, but instead got Rick Tocchet. Our starter goalie and former Vezina nominee is now a shell of his former self due to unfortunate circumstances. Yeah, I think we're kind of cooked. At least we still have Brock Besser, who just put up 40 goals and seems to be now hitting his stride, recovered from injuries, healthy, looking good, and he would go on to put up 25. Well, even if we don't have Besser, Pettersson, Miller, at least we still have Quinn Hughes. For now, at least. Oh, and we also have that former Adams winning head coach. Or we did. So all of that brings us to the current 2024-2025 Canucks. That was a bit of a long-winded intro, but I think it was kind of due as a lot has happened with this team over the last year. Now, I apologize for the green screen. As you might see, it's kind of a little bit off. This is the best I could get it, but it doesn't look too bad, so we're going to run with it. So we're going to go through this Canucks roster. I'm going to give my opinions, talk about why I'm not the most optimistic about the future of this team. And yeah, there's definitely a lot to talk about with this roster. I got a few tabs we're going to go through and talk about potential guys they might bring in, trade for, sign, whatever it may be, cap situation. We're going to talk about it all with this Vancouver Canucks team. So I thought we'll start here with the stats from last year, just to get a feel for what we're working with heading into this 2024 or I guess it's 2025-2026 season. Obviously, our top guy here, Quinn Hughes, he put up 76 points in 68 games. If he takes a step back, this team's probably going to be cooked. I wouldn't expect it. He's just been fantastic. I expect another Norris competitive season from him. There's not really much to say about Hughes. You know what you're getting. He's a great defenseman. He's a great captain. Just all around our best player. Happy to have him. Might lose him in 2 years. Do we get into that now? If you don't already know, obviously there's been rumors that he might go to New Jersey in 2 years with his contract expiring. He's going to be a UFA, so that is definitely affecting this team a lot. And we're definitely not done talking about that, as I'm pretty sure that is going to be the reason for why some of the contracts that got signed this offseason did get signed, probably to make Quinn Hughes happy. And we'll get into that in a sec. Boeser, 25 goals, 25 assists. It's not terrible, but with this roster, we don't have the most depth. Boeser ends up being one of our top 3 forwards. We need him hitting that 30-40 goal pace. 60 plus points would be nice. If he could get up to a point per game, that would be awesome, but you can't really bank on that, I do not think. But we need more goals from him, of course. You got Connor Garland as well, who just came off of a career year, I believe, with his 19 goals. Basically 20 goals, 50 points. If he can do that again, that would be great. Jake DeBrusk as well in that same kind of range. Would like to see him put up around the same numbers. And then you get into our first player. Well, I guess it might be the first of not very many players that we don't have returning in Pius Suter. The Canucks had a lot of injuries with Pettersson, and Pius Suter stepped up and he played very well in that role, which is why I'm kind of surprised they didn't circle back on him, trying to bring him back. I guess the cap just didn't work. Maybe he didn't want to come back, but it's going to hurt not having him. We're going to need some other guys to step up. The hope is, as we go to the next guy here in Elias Pettersson, that he makes up for what we lost in Pius Suter. 45 points in 64 games is just not good enough for Pettersson. We need him at least at a point per game. With the money he's making, I wouldn't be surprised if most fans want to see him back at 100 points. With his defensive abilities, I think I would take 90 every day of the week. What is a realistic expectation for Pettersson? I don't know. There's a lot of talks about how he was dealing with a lot of mental frustration, overthinking plays, and all of that stuff. I want to say we've heard this before with Pettersson. It's great that they're talking about him wanting revenge and how he's coming back better than ever. I'm going to keep things a bit tempered. I don't expect 100 points. I want to see him back at a point per game at the very least. Couple more goals than 15 would be nice. Kiefer Sherwood here, I kind of think might have had a career year. 19 goals, 40 points. Obviously, he just hit everything he saw. If he does that again this year, the fans are going to love him again. I don't know if he gets back to 20, but that would be really good for the depth. I just love Sherwood. There's nothing bad I can say about him. He's on a great contract right now. I believe they're talking extension with him. There's not much I can say. I just love the guy. And then you got JT Miller, obviously gone now. Does Hedl put up the points that Miller put up? No. I think most fans would just be happy to get a full season out of Hedl. He does pass the eye test, in my opinion. I think he looks really good in transition, getting into the offensive zone, something that I don't think many Canucks do well. It just seemed like he was really good at taking the puck from center ice into the offensive zone and establishing his presence in that way. In terms of points, what is a good year for Hedl? Again, it relies so heavily on the injuries. Can he stay healthy? If he could get up to 60, I think that would be a pretty successful season for Hedl. But again, it all banks on staying healthy. Filip Hronek, on the other hand, we have here, he put up 33 points in 61 games, which is not bad at all. I think that's about where we want to see him at that half point per game pace. Hronek is an interesting player. Sometimes he does have a bit of a goof here and there, but he seems really solid, something that this Canucks team has needed for a long time, his half point per game. As long as he doesn't fall off a cliff, I think we'll be happy there. Blueger getting 26 points, 82 games. It might be a little high for him. Hopefully we have better depth where I would say it's actually a successful season if we see Blueger putting up less points, because that means he's not playing as high in the lineup. Niels Hoglander, a guy who took a dip from last season. I honestly am not the highest on Hoglander. I know there's still fans that believe in him a lot. He always comes into training camp. They talk about how he's the best Canuck there in training camp, the work ethic, all that stuff. I just don't know if he has that top 6 potential, or at least to put up the numbers you would want to see in the top 6. I think if you get him playing top 6 minutes, you might be able to get that 20 goals out of him again, maybe around 50 points. I think that's about the cap you get for Niels Hoglander. If he's playing more like middle 6, bottom 6, you're probably looking more at 30, 40 points, 10, 15 goals, whatever it may be. It'll be interesting to see if he ends up being a part of some type of trade that we'll talk about later. I don't think the Canucks' future banks too hard on Hoglander. I think there's other pieces that we're kind of pulling for more, but it would be nice to see him get back to where he was a year ago. Tyler Myers is another, I would say he's interesting. He's kind of like that safe guy playing on that, I guess, even the second pair. We'll get into the lineups in a second here, but ideally you want Myers playing on your third pairing at this point. He's really stepped it up in these last few years in a lesser role, really showed that he can be a solid 6th defenseman, 5th defenseman, whatever it may be. 24 points in 71 games, I think is very good for Tyler Myers. I didn't even realize he put up that many points, 6 goals as well. We love him. He's the Chaos Giraffe. As long as he can play good defensively, if you get a point here and there, I'm happy, but I just want him to play that good defensive game. Sometimes he takes that slapper. He likes to run in, take that slapper, and it just goes around the boards. The opposing team counterattacks, and they score a goal. I've seen that happen one too many times with Myers. I just want him to play that defensive game. And we'll get into a sec why I'm kind of concerned with the signings on defense and what this means for the guys in Abbotsford. Again, we'll talk about that in a second. Danton Heinen, of course, got traded. Wasn't playing very good on the Canucks. And then Dakota Joshua just got traded as well. I am kind of mixed on the Dakota Joshua trade. I believe they got a 4th back in the trade. The fact that they didn't have to pay to get rid of him, I think, is a win with the season he had the previous year. $3.2 million, or it's like $3.25 million, whatever he's making. I think he's going to make it worth it for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think he can bounce back, get back to where he was a year ago. I kind of feel as though his role was almost taken by Sherwood on the Canucks. I think moving on from him is the right choice. I don't really know where he fit in anymore. Again, I think he bounces back in Toronto. I know some people are really devastated about losing Dakota Joshua, but I'm more so just happy that they didn't have to pay to get rid of him. Moving on from Dakota Joshua, or I was going to mention, obviously he battled cancer the last year. He had testicular cancer, battled that, and that's probably a big reason for his down season. I don't know if they know something we don't, where they just don't have that confidence in the bounce back, but anyways, they moved on from him. Atu Ratu is such an interesting guy for me. Where does he fit in? How many points can he put up? Can he play a full season? I don't know. In that last little bit of the season, he looked very good. I don't have the stats here. I don't know if we can click on this and look. Yeah, I don't think we can get like a game log or anything like that, but I want to say he was scoring very nice in the last little bit of the season. If we could get a solid third line center out of him, I think a lot of people would be happy, but with how much this team really needs that second line center, I almost wish they would give him the shot, but I don't think they will because they are in win now mode. I'm pretty high on him. He can take faceoffs. He really seemed to be finding his touch later in the season. I'm hopeful that they give him a chance to really excel. You don't know what you're getting out of him. He could be a late bloomer. He's kind of had a weird development path, but I like him. I like him, and I hope they give him a shot. Derek Forbert, it's kind of a weird one for me. I actually really did like Forbert. I thought he was really solid. I really had no problems with him. The only reason I don't like his re-signing is I feel like there's guys in Abbotsford that they should have given the shot to. With Forbert being there and some of the other guys they have, it just leaves the Abbotsford guys on the outside looking in. And I think you're going to mess up their development, and you're kind of risking losing out on potential guys, kind of having like a Jalen Chatfield situation where goes to another team, does well, and you're asking yourself, why didn't we keep him? So I kind of don't like the signing. I kind of do. It's a weird one for me. Moving on to Marcus Pettersson. I like Pettersson. Again, I think he's solid, but it's kind of a good slash bad situation we have going here with the other Pettersson, the DPD. A lot of scouts are talking, or scouts, people, whatever you want to call them, press, about how he definitely has that top four potential. I really didn't have any problems when I was watching him. I didn't see every single game, but in every game that I saw of him, he just looked solid. Does he have that offensive potential? Probably not. He almost looks like a Marcus Pettersson type player where he's pretty much just that pure defense. I heard some podcasts talking about, you know, if his upside was like a Jacob Slavin, like that would be amazing. Or is he more like, you know, a Marcus Pettersson? You know, he's still young. They need to give him that time. I would like to see him get some of that top four time with Marcus Pettersson here. I don't know if he gets that. So that'll be interesting. But Marcus Pettersson, I think he's solid. I don't mind the contract. But just with the depth we have on defense, again, I don't know if I love having him there. Carson Soucy is obviously gone. Thank God. That would just clog up the defense even more. Drew O'Connor. I liked him like visually, but the stats, they're just not great. He's like a bottom line guy. I think we extended him for like 2.5 or something. Like it's not a ton, but I just don't know if we need him again with the other guys that we're going to get to, like Max Sasson, Linus Karlsson. I just feel like we had other guys we could have used to save a couple, you know, $1 million here and then maybe invest that into someone else. You know, if you look at, we don't have Drew Connor, we put in a guy like Linus Karlsson, maybe you re-sign Pius Suter. Maybe that happens. How much better does that make the team look? I think a lot better. Brandstrom is obviously gone. I liked Brandstrom. I'm sad he's gone. Max Sasson, interesting guy. Don't think he has much more upside than fourth line, but I like him. Again, I think they should give those spots to guys like this, Linus Karlsson, Sasson. That way you're not paying them as much money. Use that money elsewhere. Fourth line, obviously, is not the most important line, but I think these guys are solid. I don't think you're just like giving yourself a bad fourth line. Lekkerimäki is one of the bigger pieces we need to talk about. He did not play very good in Abbotsford at all in that playoff series. Or not playoff series, but that playoff run. I want to say he had like something bad, like 6 points in 25 games or just whatever it is. Maybe this is the totals. In the NHL, he didn't look that crazy either. I don't really know where he ends up fitting in this future. I don't know if he pans out. I like the way he shoots the puck. I like how he has a good shot and he likes to shoot it. I feel like you need to get him on a line with a really good playmaker and see what can happen. He's not the type of guy you should have on your third line. He's either going to be pure bust or boom, in my opinion. Either he's going to score you goals or he doesn't really have the defensive game. He finds himself outside the NHL. So I think they should give him that shot since we are a bit weaker up front. And I think they really need him to pan out. Moving on to Filipino, we kind of already talked about him with some of the other guys. But again, we're just looking for a healthy season. That would be great. If he can get himself 50, 60 points, that would be amazing. I'm just banking on a healthy season. That's all I want out of him. Niels Ahman, again, you're kind of getting into fourth line guy here. Again, like I would rather them just put Niels Ahman on the fourth line than spend money on a guy like Drew O'Connor. Obviously, Sprong is gone. And then you got Victor Mancini, another guy. So this is one of the guys where I'm like, I think he should probably be playing bottom pairing on the defense. He looked solid in the games I saw him in Abbotsford. He played great in that playoff run. I think he should get a shot here, especially if he comes in, has a good camp, has a good preseason. And it's just like, I don't know if it's there now with Forbert and some of the other guys we have. So I hope he gets the shot. I think they should give him the shot. He's obviously cheaper than having a guy like Forbert, but we'll see what happens. I am not as high as some Canucks fans are on Mancini. Some people look at him as like the second coming of Jesus. I think he's a solid guy. I think he could definitely be a top 6 defenseman, maybe even a little bit top 4. You know, if we speak in NHL terms, I think he's got that like low top 4 potential. There's a small chance he could get up there. He has some offensive potential. So that's my feelings on Victor Mancini. Elias Pettersson, the defenseman, obviously we already talked about him a little bit. Again, I think he's solid. I think they should give him the ice time. I don't see why they don't. And yeah, We'll have to see where he ends up finishing off in his development. Does he have that upside of a Slavin, or is he more so like maybe a Marcus Pettersson, which still isn't half bad? Or is he worse? Who knows? You never know. Does he get traded? He's been in talks of possibly a trade. I think other teams see the potential in him, and I think the Canucks would be kind of dumb to move on from him. But if it means bringing in a guy like Mason McTavish, who we'll talk about in a second, that might be worth it for the Vancouver Canucks. Desharnais is gone. Thank God. I can't believe they signed him to that terrible contract and they got out of it for free. Got Arshdeep Bains, another guy who I'm not very high on. It's nice to have that organizational depth. If he can get into the lineup, find himself on a third line, putting up some decent points, 20, 30 points, that'd be great. I don't think he has much more upside than that. I like having him in the organization. It's just we kind of got a lot of these Arshdeep Bains, these Niels Almonds, these Linus Carlsons, these guys who are putting up good stats in the AHL, but just haven't really found that same production at an NHL level. Kudry Yatsev is another interesting guy where I keep hearing so much about him. I personally haven't seen him play very much, but I just keep hearing good things. I'm pretty sure a year ago I saw him play in preseason and he passed the eye test. What do they do with him? Does he end up getting a shot to play in the NHL? Again, just with the signings, there's not really much room there to get a shot. If injuries happens, maybe he does. Again, I would like to see them give guys like this a shot, but they just don't seem to want to do that. They'd rather just sign a veteran guy, which, yeah, it might be better for winning now, but if you're going to be that team that takes that next step, I think they need to give some of these young guys the chance. Ty Mueller, again, kind of a guy who came up for a little bit there. I think this is his stats, got 2 games in. Probably just an AHL guy. I don't know, maybe he comes up, plays a little bit. Brisebois, really not much there. Friedman, I believe, is gone. Juleson, thank God, is gone. I find it so funny that he goes to Philadelphia with Rick Tocchet. Rick Tocchet seemed to love him for whatever reason. He put up 0 points in 35 games, a -12. I think he's fine as a 7th defenseman. Rick Tocchet sees him as like a franchise top 2 defenseman for whatever reason. I don't know. Moving on to the goalies, this is where things start getting really rough. You got Lankinen. We haven't even talked about contracts really, but they locked him up, obviously. I believe 5 years, 4.5 million, something like that. I like Lankinen. A .902 save percentage is not very good. The Canucks would have finished a lot worse if they didn't have Lankinen. Let's be completely real about that. It's a godsend that they got Lankinen, or else they would have actually had a better draft pick, so maybe it would have been better for us, but I don't know. .902 save percentage, if he could push that up to a .910, that would be amazing. Even if he could get that to like a .905, that would be good. I think he's going to see a lot of net, just like he did last year with Thatcher Demko dealing with his injuries. I think Demko's done. Okay, I'm not a doctor. I don't have inside information. It just doesn't look good. 23 games last year. He didn't play very well in those games. I want to say he had like a little run there, like 3 or 4 games where he looked good. It's just those injuries. They sound so bad. He deals with pain when he plays, I believe. It's not going away. I just don't understand this. Like, I do understand them re-signing. I get the reason. It was probably to keep Quinn Hughes happy, but I just don't think Thatcher Demko is going to be our guy anymore. I think he's kind of done. Beyond Thatcher Demko, now our next guy up is Tolopilo. He might get some games. Again, Thatcher Demko is probably going to miss some games. You get Tolopilo in net. We'll have to see what he can do. I believe he's a pretty big goalie. I don't think he put up the craziest stats in the AHL, but he's not the worst thing in the world, but I don't know if he has that upside. Hopefully he can just play decent when he gets called up. And then obviously Artur Silovs is gone, which is so sad. Obviously a fan favorite. I really liked him as well. I wasn't the highest on him. I think at his peak, maybe he could be like a 9-10 save percentage type goalie, which obviously would be very good, and they could actually kind of use that. But when does he hit that peak? I don't know. It seems like in that first little bit when he played in the playoffs, teams didn't really have the book on him, so he was able to play well. Teams kind of seemed to figure it out. I believe it was like point shots or something he struggled with, and he couldn't really find his way through that. So I don't know if he ever ends up being an NHL starter. Obviously in Pittsburgh, he should get that chance to play some games. So we'll have to see where his development goes. Hopefully it's not another move that the Canucks end up regretting, because we definitely haven't seen those before in the past. Beyond that, obviously Adam Foote is now the coach. I get it. Again, it's for Quinn Hughes. Apparently Quinn Hughes really likes Adam Foote. He wanted him as coach. With the way Malhotra led, I keep wanting to say Utica, Abbotsford, it would have been nice to see Malhotra get the coaching position. I know a lot of other fans did want to see someone with more experience, so they wouldn't have liked to see Malhotra. I just hope they don't end up losing Malhotra again. Again, I guess in a best case scenario, we do lose Malhotra whenever his contract expires and he goes on to another team. I say we would hopefully lose him, because in that case, that means Adam Foote was successful and we're keeping him as coach. But I don't know, it's kind of like a win-loss situation there. Beyond that, so that's kind of it for the stats. I want to move on to our depth chart and talk about some of the prospects, the not very many prospects that we have. This is the center depth. We kind of went over most of these guys here, but we do have Braden Coots, who they just drafted first overall. Or not first overall, but in the first round. He looks solid. He kind of reminds me of like a Bo Horvat in a way, where I'm hoping it doesn't actually end up being that way. But if things don't work out and the Canucks end up having to do a rebuild, maybe Quinn Hughes leaves, Coots could be the guy in the next era. He could be the Bo Horvat of the next era, which I hope it doesn't end up working like that. But I like Coots. He sounds like a good guy. I don't know how much offensive potential is there, but I don't mind the pick. I kind of like swinging for the fences. I don't know if Braden Coots is necessarily a swinging for the fences. He seems more like a safer pick, which ironically, I feel like the safer picks never really pan out. They seem just not to work. They seem to be kind of mediocre. Beyond that, I don't even recognize many of these guys. None of these guys I can tell you are like top prospects, so they're not really worth talking about. You never know. Maybe someone from here pans out, but I wouldn't bank on it. An interesting signing that happened recently that I really like and kind of want to see where it goes is Vitaly Kravtsov ended up re-signing. We did have his rights, so he's coming back to North America. He had a very good season in the KHL. I'm pretty sure he was about a point per game, put up 28 goals, something like that. Where does he fit? I'm guessing they're going to give him a shot. We'll see what he can do in preseason, training camp. It'll be interesting. I'm not really like having many expectation banking on anything, but it'd be really good if he comes in and is something for this team. Beyond that, we kind of talked about everything here. Again, none of these guys are all that crazy. I love Velmer Ulriksson. He's a 6'6" Swedish guy. I would love to see him somehow get into the bottom six at some point, just with how big he is. He did like a between the legs goal. I don't remember if that was in a training camp or something, but he looks kind of sick. I hope he finds a roster spot at some point. Beyond that, you got your right wing. You got Klimovich, who has a hell of a shot, but he's not really been even that much for Abbotsford, so there's not much to look at there. And then defensively, where we actually have a ton of depth, like I've talked about, Elias Pettersson, DPD, Victor Mancini, Kudryavtsev. I kind of have to say that one slowly. And then you have Willander, who I have not even mentioned up to this point. I believe he's coming over. I don't think he's set to go back to university or wherever else. So he's going to get a chance in preseason training camp. We really do, when we get to the depth charts or when we get to the lineups, you'll see we kind of do need that right-handed defenseman. Someone under Hronek, or even in a better case above Hronek, would be very nice. But I wouldn't bank on him being too much yet. Hopefully he develops, but to bank on him to be that top four defenseman now would be kind of crazy, especially when he hasn't necessarily had the best development. It's hard to know how well someone's playing defensively on a stat sheet, but I did see that he put up, I think, one less point in one additional game in university. So you would like to see the offense go up. I think he got an elevated role too with some guys leaving. So I don't know. We'll have to see what Willander becomes. Will he get traded at some point? Who knows? It seemed like the organization really liked him. If you watch some of those behind the scenes videos, it seems like they really like him as a person. You got Sawyer Minio, who I think he was playing in the WHL still, put up some good points, I believe, unless that was the year before. So maybe something there. You got Aiden Celebrini, who pretty much the most notable thing here is just his last name. Beyond that, the goalie depth, We did pick up a goalie in the last draft. We got Medvedev. I'm not going to say that one fast, but he looks okay. He looks pretty solid. Hopefully he becomes something. I believe he played on the London Knights, put up some pretty good stats, but obviously that would be a long ways to go. Beyond that, I don't even know who this guy is. We could look at these guys real quick. Tai Young and this other Finnish guy. See if we got anything here. He's 22, 6'4", good size. Played at Harvard. Looks like he kind of took a step back. Maybe Harvard got worse, so that's a bit unfortunate to see. Tai Young, I want to say I saw him in preseason and he looked pretty decent. He played in the ECHL, so just by development, you're hoping he comes up to the AHL and at some point to the NHL, so I wouldn't bank on him being an NHL guy quite yet. Moving on from that, we can get to the lineups here. Looking at this team, it's like I like Petey. I think he's going to bounce back. I know some people just want to get rid of him. I wasn't on that boat. I do think it was the right decision to keep Petey. He's younger than Miller. I think if this team wanted a chance to become something, they kind of need Pettersson to be that guy. If they went with Miller, maybe they have a better year or two, but he's going to regress at some point. He's getting older, so I think it was the right decision. Brock Besser, I just never know with him. He's kind of inconsistent. Let's just hope he can get back to at least like 30 goals, 60 points, something like that. DeBrusk, another interesting guy. He's a streaky guy. Had a good first season. If he can just replicate that season, I would be happy. Garland, again, we're looking for a replication of the year before. Hedl, we're not looking for a replication. We're looking for a full healthy season, like I said. Can he be that second line center? I think he can. I might be one of the only people that think that. If he can stay healthy, I think he can. I think they would be good bringing in another guy, though. Evander Kane, obviously, who they just picked up. I'm not a huge fan of this pickup. They had locker room issues, and then they go grab Evander Kane. What are you doing? Obviously, he does make the forward core better. He put up some good points in the playoffs last year. He missed the entire regular season, so you might question his, I guess you could say, endurance or his conditioning, because he missed a full season. Obviously, he gets the off season, stuff like that. He's getting older, so I don't know if you can necessarily bank on a replicated season in terms of production, not in terms of the injury. But yeah, I don't know. I think hopefully we get some good production from him. Hopefully no locker room problems, please God, and things will be okay. I think he only has another year after this, so it's not like we have him for like another bajillion years, so we're good. Hoglander, again, I've given my opinions on Hoglander. Like, I don't hate this forward core. Like, I do like Atu Ratu. I do like Hedl, but there's just so many maybes here. It would be nice to have a guy at center that's not a maybe, and that's more of a yes, I guess you could say. Kiefer Sherwood, I love him. Drew O'Connor, I think it's a bit silly that we paid him to play fourth line. I like Teddy Bluger. Like to see a guy like Max Sasson get in there. So where does this roster, or where does this forward core rank amongst the entire league? Probably middle of the pack, probably maybe even a bit below that. I can't really visualize it in my head, but I don't know. It's kind of weird for once to say that the forward or the defensive core is kind of where we're best. What is this? Elias Niels. Oh, is that his middle name? Okay. Obviously Hughes, our king, our one hope. Hronik's pretty solid too. Marcus Pettersson. I don't hate this decor. Again, it would be nice to have someone here instead of Myers. Maybe we could actually do a Pettersson pairing, and Pettersson does bank or jump up, be that top four guy. Maybe Willander even comes in by some miracle and is that top four guy. But I think we could use one more guy. Bottom pairing, I do like Forbert, like I said, but it would be nice to see a guy like Mancini, a guy like Kudryavtsev getting that chance there. Beyond that, we'll skip over the power play units because that's just all kind of speculative. And you get the goalies. Again, we kind of talked about it a lot. If Demko can play a healthy season, get back to like a 9-10 save percentage, something like that, I think that would be a huge success. I don't think you can bank on him being in that Vezina conversation anymore. Just with the injuries, I don't think that's realistic. Again, Kevin Lankinen, I would like to see a little bit better stats, but I don't mind him there. It's the contracts that we need to talk about in a second. Another tab I have here is, again, just showing where the Canucks finished. They went 38, 30, and 14, 90 points. I would say just outside the playoffs, but they really were like 6 points out of the playoffs. If you do the tiebreaker, they're actually 7 points out of the playoffs. So I wouldn't really call that close. They definitely got a long ways to go. They finished with a minus 17 goal differential. So it'd be nice to see that in the positives for next year. A better home record would be nice if they can do this again away and get a better home record. They should get into the playoffs. Again, it's just all speculation. In terms of the competition, something that I wasn't initially going to talk about, Vegas obviously gets Marner. I bank on Vegas being very good again. LA's kind of an interesting one. I can't remember the moves they made. They kind of gave out some bad contracts. They should still obviously be in this conversation, but I don't know if I love their future as much as I did before with some of the moves that have been made in the last couple of years. Edmonton, again, yeah, you got to bank on them making the playoffs at the very least. They'll probably have another terrible start to the season. It would be like, are they going to miss the playoffs? And then they'll come back. They'll come starting back like they did, I believe, last year, unless I'm thinking of the year before. I don't know. Minnesota, again, I can't really think of anyone on the roster that like changed. They still should be good. The Blues, honestly, might be at one of those rising teams. They did give up one of their young guys in Bolduc. I don't know the most about him. I just know that he had a pretty solid season. I can't remember who they got back for him. I remember just not really liking the trade on paper. Calgary's they're kind of in that Canucks position, but I would say worse. I would say that they should be heading towards a rebuild, but then they have Huberdeau making like 11.5. They got Kadri. Again, it's kind of a weird team. The Canucks should be a better team than Calgary. If Calgary can put up 96 points, hopefully the Canucks will put up 97 and at least like squeeze into a playoff spot. Besides that, risers, people who are dropping in the Western Conference, Utah, I think, will probably be about the same position. Again, I can't really think of anything, maybe even a little bit more competitive. Anaheim's definitely on the way up. Are they there yet? I don't know. I'm not the highest on Seattle. I think they got a lot of good depth, but again, they don't have the top guys, which I don't think you're going to do much with if you don't got those top guys. Nashville, I'm not high on. I know they had a terrible season. I know there's Nashville fans banking on a comeback, or I guess a bounce back would be a better term to say. They're just getting older. I think they're going to have a better season, but they're just getting older. I think they'll be more around 500. Chicago, San Jose, I don't think they're there yet. I think San Jose could maybe shock some people. They made a couple signings, but I don't think these teams are quite there yet. So the Canucks don't have any reason to not at least slip into a playoff spot. Beyond that, something that maybe I should have brought up earlier, as we just kept referencing it, is the salary cap. So apparently they have $3.27 million in cap space. I was actually under the assumption that they had none. I apologize. The screen just looks terrible now. Ignore it if you can. But looking at the chart, you got Pearson making 11.6. I think he can work his way back up to making that contract look better with the rising cap hit. I think he can get it done, or at least make it look not as bad. Some people just hate him, gave up on him. I'm not one of those people. Besser 7.25. I don't even understand what happened with the negotiations. I thought he was gone, but he ends up signing back. I don't know if that's a sign of dysfunction. I don't know if that's a sign of the Canucks holding out strong on the negotiations. I don't hate the cap hit. I think he can come back and get back up there. He's still only like, 28, 29, something like that. I don't know how much I want a 35-year-old Brock Besser making $7 million or whatever it's going to be. But again, that's down the road. Who knows how much the cap goes up. But I think we could get a better season out Besser. Again, this is probably one of the moves that got made just to keep Quinn Hughes happy. And if it keeps him happy, I'm happy. DeBrusk, I don't hate the cap hit. I know some people don't really like it. But again, if you could just replicate the season, it's not bad. Kane, it's a little bit expensive. Again, if he can just come in, maybe get 50 points, 20-something goals, I'm happy with it. Don't be a complete toxic locker room guy. Don't hit up the casinos too hard and we'll be good. Garland is actually making 6 now, so I don't know what this is for. Or maybe, I think the $6 million kicks in after. I don't hate the contract extension. I love Garland. I love the little, I don't think he was say midget anymore, but I love the small guy. I love watching him play. Hedl, $4.4 million essentially. Again, I don't even know where we're going to get out Hedl. I think Hoglander can show his worth of at least $3 million. O'Connor, 2.5, I think is a little rich for a fourth line guy. I don't really understand it. Teddy Bluger, 1.8, I think is fine. Kiefer Sherwood at 1.5 is great. They're definitely going to have to give him a raise in the next contract. I wouldn't be surprised if O'Connor's actually one of the guys that is on the outside looking in next season and maybe gets traded. Kind of like that extension that Desharnais, or not the extension, but the signing Desharnais got. It's kind of just one they made, I feel like, without really thinking too hard on the future. And then you got cheaper guys here like Amin, Ratu, Archdeep Baines. I would even throw in Carlson here. Again, the guys I think they should actually be giving these fourth line positions to. On the other side of the chart, I don't actually know how this chart is split up. We have this. Oh, this is their cap space. Okay, I was going to say, who's this? Ekman Larsson still making basically $5 million. Gotta love dead cap space. Thank you, Jim Benning. That's all I'll say about that. Mikheyev, $712K. It's not that much. I won't complain about it. I think it's for a little while, though, so that kind of sucks. Lankinen, I don't hate the cap hit, but I don't love it. And then Demko's making 5 this year, but they gave him 8.5 for what, like 3-4 years, something like that. That's just terrible. I literally have to say that it just has to be for Quinn Hughes. It has to be for Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes must have been like, I want Demko here. If you give Demko a contract, I'll consider staying here. I was completely under the assumption that Demko's next contract, if he was to stay in Vancouver, just with the injuries and the stats he put up, I thought he was getting like maybe even a demotion in cap. You know, he would get less cap, or at the very least, like the smallest promotion, maybe to 5.5 or 6 mil. But 8.5 is crazy. I know the cap went up, but that just seems like they signed him at full health. That's like a contract you give to a full health Thatcher Demko who's putting up Vezina stats. So I'm just kind of bewildered by that extension. Pierre Joseph, another guy I haven't even mentioned up to this point that they signed. I don't mind having the extra depth. I kind of hope that he just stays in the AHL because I do prefer guys like DPD getting the ice time, maybe even Kudryavtsev, Mancini. You know, I don't want to repeat myself too much. We've talked about it. Got DPD there. There's Derek Forbert again. Kind of think they could have let him go, but I guess they're playing it safe. You got Myers at $3 million, which for once, Myers is making an amount that I think is kind of okay. Maybe a slight overpay, but nothing terrible. You got Marcus Patterson, 5.5. Already said I think it's fine. Hronik, 7.25. Maybe a little bit much, but I think it ends up being a decent cap hit for Hronik. And then Hughes, of course, is making 7.85, which is just a steal, but he only has like 2 years left on that. And then he might leave us and we're just screwed, and we'll hopefully do a rebuild. But knowing this Canucks team, I don't think they will rebuild. I think they'll try and force being a contender, and we'll probably have a bunch of years of suffering and crying for the next little bit. So hopefully I'm wrong about that. Hopefully I'm just being pessimistic. Moving past the cap, again, since I said we have 3.2 million. The name I kept hearing was Jack Roslovic. He put up 22 goals on Carolina, 40 points. Is he our savior down the middle? Hell no. If picking up Roslovic meant kicking out Ratu, I honestly don't really like it. It kind of leaves Hedl with like, where does Hedl go? Does Hedl go third line center? Maybe that's a better fit for him. Anyways, it doesn't even matter because apparently from the articles I was reading, it looks like Roslovic is heading to Toronto, I think. So I don't even think we're going to get him. So we'll just X that tab out. But this is the guy that's kind of been heating up recently, Mason McTavish. It's such an interesting idea trading for Mason McTavish. Is if Anaheim is willing to let him go, I don't know if he's the guy. I don't know. It's kind of risky. It's a little bit buster boom. He was a third overall pick in 2021. He's only 22 years old. He's 6'1", 220, got a good build. Obviously, like, you know, his rookie, or not rookie stats, but junior stats are all good. He's coming off of a 22 goal, 30 point season in Anaheim, which is actually really solid. I didn't realize how consistent he's been in the NHL. I'm not going to lie. I was actually kind of misinformed here. I thought he was a little bit more inconsistent in the NHL, but he's been solid. You know what? I take back what I said. With what he's done so far, that would be a pretty safe bet for a second line center. a guy who also might have more to give as he is only 22 years old. The one downside to him being consistent is that means the price tag on him is going to be very expensive. What do we even look at giving them? What do they want? Would they even take a Lekkerimäki with the season they had? Do they want him? Would they take a DPD? I think they'll take a DPD, but I think they're already kind of set on the left side. I think they got like Hellison. They have Zellweger, and I want to say they have another guy I can't think of him. Mintio. I can't say his name. I know his name. They got the Russian young guy. So I don't even know if they would take DPD. Do we give up a future first? I guess so. What do we give to get him? Do we have the assets to get him? I think would be the real question. Do they want a guy like Hoglander? Honestly, if they want a DPD for a guy like this, I think go for it. If they want a Hoglander, 100% go for it. If they want a Lekkerimäki, I would even say give them Lekkerimäki. If they want a Willander, though, I don't know. So it all depends on the price tag, but getting McTavish would actually give me a bit more optimism for this team. I would love to get him. I just don't know if it ends up working out. If we go back to our lines here, you slot in a McTavish down the middle. Hedl comes down to the third line. You don't really need him as badly to pan out as we currently do. You also got Ratu, who, yeah, maybe he falls on the fourth line, ends up being scratched. But if Hedl can't stay healthy, then you got Ratu as your third liner. So I think that's the better, I guess we could say, timeline that I would want to go down, is rather than banking on Hedl, you get a guy like McTavish who's more certain, and then there's less pressure on Hedl to progress and stay healthy, and for a guy like Ratu to progress as well. So hopefully that doesn't end up being too long. We're 45 minutes in. Going to cut that up. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me your thoughts and opinions on this Vancouver Canucks team. Where do you think they're going to finish? Are you high on them? What do you think of their future? Does Quinn Hughes leave? What do you think of some of these contracts that have been signed? Did I even say, do I think they're going to make the playoffs? I don't think I even gave my opinion yet. I think they make the playoffs. I think they're going to be playing, I hate the phrase, playing meaningful games in March. I think they're just going to be on the line. If they pick up McTavish, I think they might be better. I think they might be more guaranteed, like maybe even that third spot in Pacific or the first wildcard spot. You just never know with the team, man. We got new coaching staff. We'll see what happens. Again, let me know down below. Leave a like, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the format. Until next time, take care.